They say the desert preserves more than it hides. Some secrets are so ancient the sand itself dares not cover them. I used to believe the Mojave was just a stretch of nothingness, a lonely expanse of dust and cactus and heat. But that was before I took the wrong exit, before I saw her, before I understood that the road isn't always a path forward, it can be a trap. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. I was driving from Vegas to a dead-end town in California. Nothing but a black rental car and a trunk full of regrets. It was close to midnight when I stopped at a gas station that looked older than sin. The lights flickered, the pump wheezed, and the old man behind the glass didn't speak until I was almost out the door. "Don't look her in the eyes," he rasped. "If you see her, just keep driving." I laughed. Said something dumb like, "Vegas hangover stories, huh?" He didn't smile. He just stared through me, like he wasn't talking to me but something behind me, back on the road. The highway stretched like a dark ribbon between hills that looked too still, too silent. My playlist had died an hour ago, signal gone. I kept checking my phone out of habit, but the bars were empty. No service, no data. Just me and the road. I started to feel that desert silence. You know the kind, not peaceful, oppressive, like even the air was holding its breath. That kind of quiet makes you hear things. Shapes thoughts into whispers. I cranked the AC just to have some kind of noise. Then I saw it. Something moved across the road. It was quick, low to the ground, and far too smooth. No sound, just a shape in my headlights. I slammed the brakes, heart thudding, but when I looked again, nothing. Just sand. I sat there in the middle of the road, breathing hard, convincing myself it was a coyote, maybe a big rabbit. But deep down, I knew better. Something primal stirred. My hands were shaking on the wheel. I started driving again, slower this time. Then the radio came to life. It wasn't music. It wasn't even static. It was a voice, soft, familiar. It was Clara's voice. She whispered my name. Not once, twice, as if she was just behind my ear. I nearly veered off the road. Clara. She's a friend, sure, but she wasn't with me. She was in Los Angeles. How the hell could her voice be coming through a dead radio? The voice faded, replaced by a rising hum. I shut the radio off. Heart pounding. Windows up, lights full beam. I didn't dare stop. That's when I saw the sign. A glowing green exit sign. No lights anywhere else. Just the sign. One word on it. Burrow. No mile count, no arrow. Just the word. I pulled over. Checked the map. No town named Burrow anywhere near me. Hell, no exit there at all. But when I looked up again, the sign was closer. I swear it had moved. I didn't plan to turn, but my hands did. Like I wasn't steering anymore. The car shifted gently as if nudged by invisible hands, and I found myself on a narrow dirt path. No lights, no road markers, just sand and shadow. I should have turned back, but my hands didn't want to. The further I drove, the colder the air got. The temperature dropped 10 degrees in 5 minutes. My breath fogged on the windshield. Something about that stretch of desert wasn't dead. It was hibernating. Then I checked the rearview mirror. She was there. Clara, sitting in the back seat. She looked pale, her eyes wide, hands clasped tightly in her lap. Her lips moved, but I couldn't hear the words. Then she whispered, "Don't stop." My skin froze. I blinked. She was gone. Not a trace. No sound, no movement. Just me and the dark, and the feeling that something had now entered the car. The road narrowed into nothing. I was no longer sure I was on a road at all. The tires crunched something softer than gravel. I tried to reverse. The car didn't respond. The headlights began to dim, just a little, enough to make everything look wet, like the shadows were breathing. I gripped the wheel, my knuckles white. I whispered Clara's name. No answer. I passed a broken billboard. A woman's face half erased. The same face I'd see again. And again. Over the next 3 turns, I was looping. That's when the figure appeared, dead center in my headlights. A woman, long black hair, White dress. She wasn't moving, just staring. And I realized even from this distance I couldn't see her eyes. Only the empty space where they should be. I didn't blink, didn't breathe. Then my lights flickered, and she was gone. But not far. I didn't know it yet. But that wasn't the first time I'd see her. It was just the introduction. I wanted to believe it was just a mirage, that the woman in the road was a trick of desert heat, a hallucination brought on by lack of sleep. But the desert wasn't warm anymore. It hadn't been for miles. My breath still fogged the glass, and my hands had gone numb on the steering wheel. I drove on, but the air felt wrong. It pressed against the car, like the atmosphere itself had weight. The world outside the windshield wasn't just dark, it was hollow, like a stage waiting for something to perform. That was when I saw it again. The billboard. Same tear across the middle. Same half-erased woman's face. The first time, I had passed it with curiosity. Now it was dread. I checked the mileage. 1 mile since the last turn. I passed it again. 2 miles. Same billboard. Same shape in the shadows just behind it. Like a human outline standing still in the sand. I drove faster. Past the billboard again. Mile 5. Same owl sitting on top. Same flickering edge. Same smell in the air, dry rot and rust. The road was looping. Somewhere between that second and third pass, the temperature dropped again. The AC wasn't running. The vents were dead. But a breeze touched my face from inside the car. I turned off the engine. Silence. Then came the sound. A faint tapping on the passenger side. Window. Slow, deliberate, like fingers made of glass. Tap. Pause. Tap, tap! I didn't look. Every instinct in me screamed not to turn my head. I focused on the rearview mirror. Nothing there. Then I heard breathing. Not mine. It was close. Inside. Slow, shallow, feminine. My hands trembled as I reached for the ignition. The engine turned once, twice, then roared back to life. The tapping stopped. The air inside the car warmed by a single degree. Enough to move, I floored the gas. The car surged forward. I passed the billboard again, but this time it was different. The woman's face on it had changed. The half-erased part was now fully gone, replaced with something else. Clara. It was Clara's face. Eyes wide, mouth open, screaming silently through paint and plywood. I couldn't look at it. I swerved. The tires hit something soft. The car bounced. I hit the brakes. There was no road anymore. Just a stretch of cracked earth and silent sand, barely lit by the headlights. The desert had swallowed the path. I checked the map again. No signal, no GPS, just a blinking dot stuck in place. I was nowhere. I got out of the car. The silence was absolute. No wind. No insects. Not even the sound of my own footsteps on the ground felt real. It was like walking on padded stone. I walked to the edge of the beam cast by my headlights. The car's light made a small oasis of clarity. Beyond it, only blackness. I stood still. Then I heard it. A low hum rising from beneath my feet. Not mechanical, organic, like something massive was breathing just under the desert floor. Then it shifted. The sand moved. A ripple, like the desert was alive. And from it a figure rose. At first I thought it was a woman again. Same dress, same outline. But the way she moved, not human. She didn't walk. She flowed, like fog solidified. She approached the edge of the light, then stopped. I stepped back, but my legs didn't respond. It felt like the desert had taken hold of my body. My breath caught in my throat. Then a whisper behind me. Clara's voice. She said only one word. Run. I turned, but no one was there. Only my car, still running. Headlights dimmer now. Engine humming slower. I ran. Sprinted toward the car like something was behind me. I never looked back. I didn't want to see what had made that figure. I didn't want to know what Clara was warning me about. I dove into the driver's seat, slammed the door, hit the gas. The car didn't move. The wheels spun, like something was holding it down. I screamed. The lights flickered. Then the rearview mirror shifted on its own, turned slightly, pointed toward the back seat, and there she was again. Clara. But this time, she wasn't pale. She was crying. Black streaks ran down her face like ink. Her eyes locked with mine through the mirror. and she whispered something that chilled me more than the air.
You brought her with you?
I blinked. She was gone. The car lurched forward. Whatever had been holding it released.
I didn't stop to think. I drove, faster than before.
The desert blurred around me. Shapes moved on the edge of my vision. Every time I blinked,
I thought I'd see her again, standing in the road, waiting.
but she didn't come. Instead, I passed another sign.
Another impossible one.
This one read,
Welcome to Burrow.
Population 1, and underneath it, freshly painted. Now 2, Burrow wasn't on any map, not online.
Not on the GPS, not even in the memories of locals I'd spoken to weeks later.
But that night, the sign stood there, real as bone.
Welcome to Burrow.
Population 1, and freshly painted beneath it. Now 2,
I should have turned around.
I should have burned rubber and never looked back.
But something about the air.
It felt thicker, like walking through a dream you couldn't wake up from. My body moved, but my mind felt disconnected, detached, heavy. The road into town wasn't paved, just cracked stone and sand crusted into paths. The headlights cast shapes that didn't match the surroundings. Shadows stretched in the wrong directions. My speed dropped without thinking. I was inching forward. Then the lights flickered again. This time, not the headlights. The town. Lights came on. Street lamps lit one by one down the single stretch of road, a sick yellow glow pulsing softly. Windows in the old buildings lit up too, even though the town looked abandoned. Dust covered every surface.
No signs of life.
But the lights knew I was coming. I parked the car in front of what looked like an old diner. Neon sign half dead. The words open 24/7 barely visible under layers of grime. The door creaked as I approached and the bell rang when I pushed it open. Inside, the booth seats were torn. Dust hung in the air like smoke. But there was music playing faintly from a jukebox in the corner. Something old. A jazz tune distorted, skipping every few seconds.
And behind the counter, someone stood.
It wasn't Clara. It was a woman tall and motionless.
Hair like shadows down her back.
She was facing away, staring into a mirror that reflected nothing.
I said hello.
She didn't move. I stepped closer.
Every instinct screamed at me to leave, but my feet kept moving.
Then she spoke. Table for 2? Her voice was empty.
Not cold, not warm.
Just hollow.
I didn't answer.
She turned around. Her face was completely smooth.
No eyes, no nose. No mouth, just skin.
But I heard her anyway. Sit, she's waiting. I turned to leave, heart pounding, and Clara was sitting in the corner booth.
She looked tired.
Like something had been draining her slowly. She met my eyes and shook her head once, subtly, like she was telling me to do the opposite of what the woman said. I backed away from the counter, never turning my back on the eyeless waitress. Clara stood. We left together. The moment we stepped outside, the town changed. The street was longer.
More buildings appeared on either side.
Windows lit, doors open, but no people,
No sound.
just wind. And behind us, the diner was gone, replaced by a chapel. Its door opened slightly. A bell rang once, no source. Clara whispered, "You shouldn't have come here."
I asked her what this place was, what the figure was, why I was hearing her on the radio.
Seeing her in mirrors, she didn't answer. Instead, she said, "It's not about you. It never was. You just took the road she left open."
I asked who she was.
Clara's voice cracked when she replied. She wears faces that aren't hers. She waits on forgotten roads.
And she's always looking for a driver.
Then, as if on cue, the wind died.
And I heard footsteps.
Soft, deliberate, approaching from behind the chapel. Clara grabbed my arm.
Don't look. Don't listen.
But the steps kept coming, closer, heavier. Then a whisper crawled into my ears. Not Clara's voice.
Not the woman's from the diner. Mine.
The whisper sounded like me, telling myself to come closer, telling me I belonged here. Clara pulled harder, dragging me back to the car. But the world around us wasn't stable anymore. The town stretched. Buildings rose from the earth like teeth. Roads twisted upward into the sky. Gravity shifted for half a second and my feet left the ground. Clara screamed. She wasn't holding my arm anymore. She was floating above me, then pulled down into the street by something I couldn't see.
I ran.
Not to save her. To survive. The car looked further away now. It had moved. Or the town had. Either way, I sprinted. Every window I passed had faces now. Blank, eyeless faces watching me run. Some pressed against the glass. Others followed me from inside the buildings, matching my speed. The town didn't want me to leave. It wanted me to stay. Or worse, replace someone who had. The car door wouldn't open at first. I punched the glass, screamed, cursed. Then it clicked.
Unlocked. I dove inside, started the engine, and just as I turned the key,
She appeared again. The woman in white.
in front of the car,
Same spot. Same stance.
no face. Only that dress. Only that silence. I revved the engine.
Didn't care. I drove forward.
I didn't blink. I didn't stop. I didn't look in the mirror. I just kept driving. And behind me,
The town disappeared. Like it had never existed. But I knew it had.
something came back with me. I didn't stop driving.
Not for hours. The desert blurred past, a mix of stars and shadows that never seemed to change. I kept waiting for the dawn to break, for the sky to lighten, for the nightmare to give me even a sliver of morning. But the horizon never changed. The sun never came.
And my gas gauge never moved.
I had been driving on the same quarter tank for what felt like days. The dashboard lights began to flicker. The air grew cold again.
That's when I realized I hadn't left Burrow. Not really.
It had followed me. Or maybe I had never escaped. The shape in the back seat hadn't spoken, but I felt it. A presence?
Heavy and silent.
Clara was gone, but something else had taken her seat.
And I couldn't bring myself to look back. Not yet.
I turned the volume dial, just to break the silence. The radio crackled to life.
Static.
Then a voice. Not Clara's, not mine. It sounded like a child, softly singing.
An old lullaby. One I remembered from when I was 5.
But I never told anyone about that song.
No one knew it. And yet, there it was.
Playing on a dead frequency in the middle of nowhere. I shut the radio off. The voice kept singing. Now it was coming from the air vents. I slammed my fists on the steering wheel. The car jolted, then stopped. The engine was still running, but the wheels weren't moving. I looked outside.
No road. No desert.
Just black.
As if the world had fallen away.
And left me on a floating piece of highway, suspended in nothing. I reached for the door handle. It was gone. The interior of the car had changed. The dash looked older. The steering wheel was cracked. The air smelled like mildew and smoke. I checked the mirror. Still couldn't see the back seat clearly. Just darkness. But it moved. Slowly.
Deliberately.
Then a voice whispered my name again.
Soft. Feminine. Too close.
But this time, it wasn't Clara. It was trying to sound like her. And it almost did. But it got something wrong. The way it shaped the R in my name. Just a little too long. Like a foreign tongue mimicking a word it had never spoken before. I turned.
Nothing there.
But the seatbelt behind me was buckled.
Someone was riding with me. And they hadn't been invited.
I looked forward again, and the desert returned. The road snapped back into place like a film reel resuming playback.
A jolt of light hit my eyes.
Headlights.
Coming straight toward me. Another car. I swerved.
Tires screeched. We missed each other by inches. In my rear view, I saw the other driver slam on the brakes.
Then get out.
He ran toward me, waving, shouting. But I didn't stop.
I couldn't.
Because the passenger door of his car opened on its own, and something stepped out. Something wearing my face. Same clothes. Same eyes. Same scars. But it smiled in a way I never had.
I hit the gas.
The road bent in impossible angles. Hills turned sideways. Telephone poles leaned inward, their wires forming spiderwebs above me.
I drove into them.
Through them. The lights began to spark. The engine whined. Then the GPS screen lit up for the first time in hours. It displayed one word.
Home. But it wasn't my address.
It wasn't a place at all. Just that word.
Home. I laughed.
A dry, panicked noise. Because I understood what it meant.
I wasn't going back to my world. I was being pulled into theirs.
This wasn't my car anymore. This wasn't my road. And I wasn't the one in control.
I let go of the wheel.
It kept turning on its own. The speedometer rose.
50, 60, 75.
Then the car stopped again.
No deceleration. No brakes.
Just a sudden, silent halt.
I hit the windshield hard.
Didn't feel pain, just cold.
I sat there for minutes.
Maybe hours. Then the dome light flickered on. For the first time, I saw the back seat clearly. It wasn't Clara. It wasn't even human. Its face was blank, like the woman from the diner. But it had my eyes, and it smiled. Not a grin, not a smirk, just teeth.
Then it spoke.
Its voice was the sound of tires on gravel, of wind through broken windows, of radios whispering names you forgot you had. It said, "You let me in." And that was when I understood.
Burrow wasn't a place.
It was an infection. It finds cracks. In minds.
In machines.
In memory.
And once it enters, it never leaves. I thought I was losing my mind.
That maybe this was a coma dream. That maybe I'd crashed somewhere back near that gas station. And everything since then was the death throes of my fading brain.
But the thing in the back seat,
It didn't feel like imagination. It felt real.
too real.
Its voice echoed inside my head, not my ears. And it said the same phrase again.
Like it was confirming a deal I didn't remember making.
"You let me in." The dome light shut off on its own.
I sat in silence.
Darkness.
Then a hand.
It reached from the shadows and gently touched my shoulder.
Cold. Not just in temperature, but in meaning.
It wasn't trying to comfort me. It was claiming me. I opened the car door and fell out onto the sand. My legs barely moved, like the desert wanted me flat, prone, vulnerable. But I forced myself to stand. The car behind me dimmed, then flickered, and disappeared completely.
Gone. No headlights. No engine.
Just me, the sand, and a sky that felt too low. The stars above me no longer blinked. They stared. That's when I heard Clara again.
Not from behind me. From inside me.
Her voice rose in my mind like memory catching fire. "You're still here because it hasn't chosen yet."
I looked around wildly.
She wasn't in front of me, not standing in the sand, but she was everywhere. In the breeze that didn't move dust. In the whispers between my heartbeats.
Clara, I called out. Where are you?
Her reply came slow like sound forced through water.
I'm with it. Trapped.
"Can I pull you out?" I asked. Her answer was a long silence. Then, "No, but you can keep it from spreading." That was the first time she hinted at what Burrow really was.
Not a place. A parasite. It finds empty roads, broken minds, weak memories.
It grows in silence. And it feeds off people who see what they shouldn't. And once you've seen it, you're part of it. The figure, the woman in white, the smooth-faced waitress, the town that loops. They're all different forms of the same thing. A collector, of drivers, of wanderers.
Of the lonely.
Clara wasn't just guiding me. She had been pulled in before, and she was trying to do what she never could for herself.
Lead me back out.
I turned and walked, not sure where to go. No car.
No road.
But somehow I was moving. The desert itself bent around me.
Hills melted.
Sand shifted into patterns, spirals and eyes and mouths that opened and closed without sound.
Then I saw her again.
The woman.
Standing alone.
No road beneath her.
No stars above her.
Just blankness. I walked toward her.
I don't know why. Maybe I was tired.
Maybe I just needed to face whatever this was. Her hair moved, but there was no wind. Her arms hung loosely, like a puppet waiting for strings. I stopped a few feet away, and finally, she looked up.
No face. Still.
But something inside her shimmered, like something behind that skin was watching. She reached out a hand.
Open palm.
Waiting.
And I almost touched it. I don't know how close I came.
But just before I made contact, a sharp pain hit the side of my head.
Like a scream inside my skull.
And Clara's voice snapped through again. "If you touch her, it ends."
I stumbled back.
Fell into the sand. When I looked up, the woman was gone. But something remained.
The door. Floating in the air. Wooden. Old.
With Clara's voice whispering from the other side, "This is your only way out." I reached for the doorknob. But behind me, the figure returned.
I felt her breath.
Closer now. The same cold claim from before.
You let me in, she said again. And this time,
I responded. No, I let her in. Silence. Then rage,
It screamed, not out loud, but into every cell in my body.
like my bones vibrated with hate. I opened the door,
Light poured out. Not warm,
but real,
sharp.
the kind of light that reveals, not comforts.
And through it I saw Clara.
Standing just beyond the threshold,
Tired, hollow, hurt.
but alive, she held out her hand.
Not asking, offering.
And this time I took it. Clara's hand was warm.
It shouldn't have been. Not after everything.
Not after where we were. But somehow, the moment I touched her, the scream behind me vanished.
Like the figure couldn't follow us past the door. I stepped through.
And the door slammed shut behind me. The sound echoed in a way that didn't make sense. Like 1,000 doors had closed all at once. Then silence again. A different kind this time.
Not threatening. Not hollow, just still. I looked around.
We weren't in the desert anymore. But we weren't anywhere familiar either. The ground beneath us was dark marble, polished but cracked, reflecting just enough of ourselves to feel unreal. Above us, nothing. No ceiling. Just an endless stretch of sky without stars or clouds, like the world had forgotten how to finish painting itself. Clara let go of my hand and sat down on the floor. She looked exhausted, like something had been draining her piece by piece. I crouched beside her.
What is this place?
She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "This is the space between.
Between what?
Between forgetting and being forgotten."
I didn't know what that meant. I still don't.
But it felt right. Like we were standing inside a memory that had no owner anymore. Clara finally looked up at me. "You made it farther than most." "Farther than you?" She nodded.
I got stuck at the sign.
The one that said burrow. I turned back.
Thought I was smart.
But I was already marked.
So there's no way out?
There is.
But it doesn't work for everyone. That's why I called you.
I frowned.
You called me? On the radio?
She nodded again.
The thing...
It uses voices, faces, anything familiar. Is how it gets in. But I pushed through. Just enough. Just once. She looked at me, and her eyes glistened like glass. "You're the first one to hear me."
I didn't know what to say.
So I asked the question I'd been avoiding. "What happens if we stay here?" Clara smiled. A sad, slow smile. "We fade." Fade?
Not die, just...
Drift out of memory, like songs no one sings anymore. She stood and walked toward the far edge of the space.
A thin crack ran along the floor, glowing faintly. That's the way out, she said. For you.
"And you?"
I can't take it. I've been here too long.
"The door won't open for me." I took a step toward the crack, but something inside me resisted. Leaving meant leaving her.
Leaving meant going back to a world that didn't know what I'd seen. A world that might not be real anymore.
"Will I remember any of this?" She shrugged. "Maybe pieces, dreams, whispers."
And you?
"What happens when I leave?" Her voice dropped.
I stay behind, but part of me goes with you.
Just enough to pull someone else out.
Maybe next time, I make it.
The crack in the floor pulsed.
I felt it calling.
The figure hadn't followed us here, but I knew it was still watching, waiting. If I didn't leave now, I wouldn't leave at all. Clara walked up to me.
Took my hand one last time.
"I'm not the Clara you remember," she said.
I know. I'm what's left of her.
What she couldn't carry anymore. "That's enough." She leaned forward.
Whispered something into my ear. I couldn't understand it.
Not then, but I'd remember it later, right before I sleep, right when the wind howls.
I stepped into the crack.
Light swallowed me, and the world shifted.
I woke up in my car, parked on the side of the highway.
The sun was rising. Birds chirped. My phone buzzed. Service had returned. I blinked, checked the time. 12 hours had passed. Only 12. But it felt like days.
Weeks. I looked in the mirror.
The back seat was empty.
No figure. No Clara.
But on the dashboard, a note.
Written in handwriting I didn't recognize.
It said, "Don't stop."
She's still out there. I drove. Didn't speak to anyone for days.
Didn't tell anyone what happened.
Who would believe me?
But at night, when I close my eyes, I see her again. The woman. The figure. And Clara trapped between worlds. Whispering through frequencies no one listens to anymore.
And sometimes, just sometimes,
When I'm driving through long stretches of nothing. The radio clicks on.
Static. Then her voice. Faint.
Calling someone else now.
Leaving meant going back to a world that didn't know what I'd seen. A world that might not be real anymore.
Will I remember any of this? She shrugged. Maybe pieces, dreams, whispers.
And you?
What happens when I leave? Her voice dropped.
I stay behind, but part of me goes with you.
Just enough to pull someone else out.
Maybe next time I make it.
The crack in the floor pulsed.
I felt it calling.
The figure hadn't followed us here, but I knew it was still watching, waiting. If I didn't leave now, I wouldn't leave at all. Clara walked up to me.
Took my hand one last time.
I'm not the Clara you remember, she said.
I know. I'm what's left of her.
What she couldn't carry anymore. That's enough. She leaned forward.
Whispered something into my ear. I couldn't understand it.
Not then, but I'd remember it later, right before I sleep, right when the wind howls.
I stepped into the crack.
Light swallowed me, and the world shifted.
I woke up in my car, parked on the side of the highway.
The sun was rising. Birds chirped. My phone buzzed. Service had returned. I blinked, checked the time. 12 hours had passed. Only 12. But it felt like days.
Weeks. I looked in the mirror.
The back seat was empty.
No figure. No Clara.
But on the dashboard, a note.
Written in handwriting I didn't recognize.
It said, "Don't stop."
She's still out there. I drove. Didn't speak to anyone for days.
Didn't tell anyone what happened.
Who would believe me?
But at night, when I close my eyes, I see her again. The woman. The figure. And Clara trapped between worlds. Whispering through frequencies no one listens to anymore.
And sometimes, just sometimes.
When I'm driving through long stretches of nothing, the radio clicks on.
Static. Then her voice. Faint.
Calling someone else now. That night, I packed a bag.
One change of clothes. A full gas can. A digital recorder. And a note in case I didn't return.
It just said,
If you hear the signal, don't follow it. Tell Clara.
I remember.
I drove. Same car. Same highway.
The sky was clear. The air felt colder again. By the time I saw the green sign glowing in the dark, I didn't hesitate.
Burrow.
No population listed this time. Just a blinking arrow.
Left.
I turned. The road didn't ripple like last time.
It felt stable. More real. As if Burrow wanted me back.
Not to torment me, but to use me. The radio clicked on by itself.
Static again.
Then a voice. Clara. Not whispering this time. She said, "You came back." I gripped the wheel. Said, "Tell me where you are." But she didn't answer that. She only said, "It's almost too late."
I asked, too late for what?
Her voice broke. For remembering me, then it cut. The static returned. The town rose over the horizon like a bruise under skin. Same buildings, same flickering lights. But this time, it was different. Someone was standing at the town's edge.
Not the woman in white.
Not the waitress. It was me. An exact copy.
Expressionless.
Waiting. He stood exactly where the road ended and the town began. Same jacket. Same shoes. Same scar on the eyebrow I got when I was 9 and fell off my bike.
He even had that nervous twitch in the jaw.
I developed after the first.
Burrow trip.
But his eyes were dead. Not empty.
Dead.
Like glass marbles painted to look human. He raised a hand and waved.
Mechanical. Slow, like a puppet acting out a memory.
I slowed the car but didn't stop. As I passed him, his head turned without his shoulders moving. Then his mouth moved. "You're late."
I kept driving.
But the town didn't begin where I remembered. It had stretched. Buildings I hadn't seen before lined the road. A post office with a nameplate that just said yours.
A hardware store that flickered between languages I didn't recognize.
A motel where every window had a copy of me looking out. Burrow had changed. It wasn't just mimicking a town anymore. It was mimicking me.
I pulled over, got out.
The air felt thicker now, like I was underwater, breathing in memories instead of oxygen.
I walked. Every door I passed whispered. Voices I knew.
Teachers, exes,
Friends I'd lost touch with.
each one saying the same thing. "You left us behind." Then I saw Clara.
Standing in the middle of the street.
She looked stronger now, but there was fear in her posture.
Not of me. Of what was behind me.
I turned. He was there again,
The other me?
but closer now.
Only 10 steps away. I shouted. What are you?
He smiled.
Not cruel, not kind.
Just inevitable.
I'm who you'll become if you stay. I didn't understand.
Clara spoke loud enough to break the air. Burrow doesn't kill you. It replaces you, slowly, bit by bit. Each time you return, more of you stays. More of it comes back out.
I backed up.
Looked at my hands. They looked normal. But when I flexed my fingers, they didn't feel right. The bones didn't respond like they used to. The copy took a step forward.
I already remember things you've forgotten, he said.
That song your mother used to hum. The dog you cried over in 4th grade.
I kept them. You let them fade.
He took another step. And when everything else fades, I'll be all that's left. Clara pulled me behind her. Her voice trembled.
He's the echo.
You're still the origin, but not for long.
I asked, or how do I stop him?
She didn't answer with words. She reached into her coat and pulled out something wrapped in cloth. When she unwrapped it, I saw it.
A mirror. Old fractured.
The surface shimmered with more than reflection. She whispered, "Show him the part he can't steal." I held the mirror up. The copy flinched. His smile cracked. Not like emotion, like glass under pressure. Then his voice changed. It wasn't mine anymore. It was hers. The woman. The collector.
You brought me close. So close, she hissed.
The mirror's surface glowed brighter. Images flickered across it. My childhood home. Clara's face before Burrow. The night sky from a road trip years ago.
Memories. Unfiltered. Real.
The figure stumbled back. Clara shouted, "Don't let her copy what you feel."
That's how she enters.
I held tighter to the mirror. Thought of laughter.
Of fear. Of standing in the rain, shouting at the sky for no reason when I was 17.
The figure screamed, a shriek that bent the buildings. Then it shattered. Not just the copy, the street, the sky, the entire town. Like Burrow was nothing but glass ready to break. Everything collapsed inward, and the only thing left was Clara and me, standing on a road that wasn't there.
Surrounded by light.
Clara and I stood in silence. The light around us wasn't warm. It was clinical, white, too bright to be comforting, like a spotlight used during surgery. We weren't saved. We were exposed.
Is it over? I asked.
Clara didn't answer right away. Her eyes stayed fixed on where the town had collapsed. Or maybe peeled away was a better word. Like Burrow had never been real, just a skin pulled over something deeper. She finally spoke. You broke the pattern. It can't copy what isn't predictable. Emotion, raw memory.
That's the one thing she can't process.
I looked at the mirror in my hand, still glowing.
Still pulsing. Inside the reflection, I saw something I hadn't expected.
Me. The real me, but younger.
Innocent.
Not yet hollowed out by all of this. And for a second, I saw Clara too. Not just a trapped echo, but full.
Whole.
She smiled. Not at me, but at the version of herself she once was. Then the mirror cracked.
Hairline at first.
Then across the surface. I dropped it. It didn't shatter. It dissolved.
Back into sand.
Back into silence. What now? I asked. Clara's face shifted. Something behind her eyes changed.
There's one last thing, she said.
One last exit.
I didn't understand. I thought this was the exit.
She shook her head. You left, yes, but a part of you stayed. Burrow needs everything gone, or it rebuilds. She took my hand,
Held it tight.
and said something I didn't expect. You have to forget me. What? That's the only way. No, Clara, you pulled me out. You brought me this far.
I'm not just walking away from you.
She smiled painfully. You're not walking away. You're freeing me. The air started to hum. Not a sound, more like a vibration under our skin. The light grew dimmer, not fading, but shifting, turning into something else. The echo of Burrow,
Still trying to rebuild.
still trying to survive.
If you remember me, Clara said, I stay here, anchored, half trapped, half repeating.
Tears welled in my eyes. Clara, there has to be another way. There isn't. That's why she used me.
That's why she chose my voice.
You trusted it.
I swallowed hard. I still do.
She nodded.
That's why you have to let it go.
My throat tightened.
How?
She stepped closer.
Put her forehead against mine.
and whispered something I couldn't understand. Not because it was cryptic.
Because the second she said it, I forgot it.
Just like that, the word vanished. The sentence was gone.
And with it,
So was Clara.
I opened my eyes. I was standing on the side of the highway again, sun rising behind me.
No car,
No bag, just sand under my feet.
and a sense of quiet that felt deeper than sleep.
I didn't remember how I got there.
Didn't even remember my own last name for a second. Then, like a string being pulled tight, everything real snapped back.
Except her.
There was no Clara,
Not in my memory. Not in any voice. Not even in my dreams.
but sometimes when I drive past that part of the desert,
I hear static, and my chest aches.
for someone I can't name, for something I can't prove happened,
But I know, somewhere deep,
something was lost to save something else,
and someone,
chose to vanish so I could stay whole. They say memories fade with time, that even the worst trauma will eventually soften. Dull at the edges becomes something manageable. But this isn't about trauma. It's about what we choose to forget, and what refuses to be forgotten. It's been 3 years since the night I drove through the desert and saw her. The woman in white, the town that shouldn't exist. Clara.
I don't remember her face. Not really.
Just flickers.
A voice I think I heard once in a dream.
A feeling of someone sitting beside me in the passenger seat when no one was there. The truth is,
I don't know what's real anymore.
sometimes I wake up with sand in my shoes. Sometimes I find static on my phone recordings. Once I looked in my rearview mirror and saw a second version of myself smiling back.
It's subtle.
Slow, but I know what it is. Burrow isn't just a town,
It's a rot.
a concept, a virus made of repetition and grief. It spreads through lonely roads, through signal waves, through memory, through people like me. I write things down now.
Every day. Everything I did, everyone I spoke to, every dream I had.
Because I'm scared that one day I'll look in the mirror and not know who I am.
And someone else will know everything about me.
Better than I do. You think you're safe because you're not behind the wheel right now.
You think this is just a story?
But if you've listened this far, it's already reached you. The signal, the pull, the whisper that makes you glance at the highway late at night and wonder, what if I just kept driving?
Don't.
If you ever find yourself alone, passing a green sign that says Burrow with no listed population, don't stop.
Don't turn. And for God's sake,
Don't answer if someone calls your name, because she remembers,
even if you don't, she's still out there.
and she's always waiting for someone who won't be missed.
Someone like me. Someone like you.
If you made it this far.
Thank you.
But before you close this video, take a moment. Comment, share this story with someone who needs a reason to stay on the main road tonight. Let me know in the comments, what time is it where you are? And have you ever felt like something was following you home, but nothing was there when you look back?
And as always,
This is Clara After Dark, where shadows talk.
and memory's a trap.
Sleep light if you can. Good night.